How to use DD Form 2875. DD Form 2875, which is sometimes referred to as either the SAR, System Authorization Access Request, or EARF, Enterprise Access Request Form, is used by PL/AMOS in managing systems access to all TCAMS2 applications. The DD Form 2875 is used specifically for adding new TCAMS2 applications users, deleting current TCAMS2 applications users, or modifying current TCAMS2 users' access. Now, let's take a look at the DD Form 2875 and how it's used. DD Form 2875 is divided into 4 sections. The first section includes both the request detail area, shown here, and a user information area, designated as Part 1 on the form. The input into this section is usually filled in by the user, but it may also be filled in by the user account manager. To begin using the form, make a selection from the type of request drop-down menu. For demonstration purposes, we will choose Initial. After making a selection, click the Tab key. After clicking the Tab key, several things happen. First, the cursor is repositioned to the user ID field. However, because this is a new user, there is no user ID to be entered. Second, today's date is auto-filled. Third, all mandatory fields, in both the request and user sections, are displayed with red borders. If modification had been chosen, the mandatory fields would have looked like this, with user ID being mandatory too. If deletion had been chosen, the mandatory fields would have looked like this, with user ID being mandatory as well. Now, back to our initial selection screen. One of the features of this form is the ability to digitally sign each section of the form by the designated person responsible for that section of the form. After the first section of the form has been filled in, click the mouse pointer inside of the user digital signature field. Several things will happen next. First, a pop-up screen will appear asking the user to select their CAD card for digital signature. Second, another pop-up screen will appear forcing the signer to rename the document. Finally, the signature block will appear and the signature date will be auto-filled. That completes section 1 of the form. Next, if section 1 of the form was completed by a user for either initial access or modification, the form should now be emailed to their UAM to complete section 2 of the form. If section 1 of the form was completed by the UAM, they should keep the form and begin filling out section 2. Or for deletions, the UAM should forward the form by email to the AST. Remember, all emails with PII should be encrypted. Next, we'll take a look at section 2 of the form. Section 2 of the form is used by the UAM or the user's supervisor to grant user access to the system and to define the level of access the user will have. It is rarely filled out for user deletions. It is important to note that in this section, the narrative entered into line 13 is very important. It provides clarity of the purpose and intent of the grantor in granting both the type and level of user access. This information can be very useful, especially to all of those who receive this document online. After filling in section 2 of the form, digitally signing and renaming the form, the UAM has a choice of where to email the form next. For initial requests, the UAM forwards the newly named document to the security manager in order to validate the user's background investigation and clearance information. For modification requests, the UAM forwards the newly named document to the AST. Next, let's look at section 3. Again, section 3 is where the security manager validates the user's background investigation and clearance information. This section is only filled out for initial requests. After completing section 3 and digitally signing and renaming the form, security managers have 2 choices. They can either forward the form by email to the AST, or they can return the form to the UAM, who in turn will send the form to the AST. Next we'll look at section 4 of the form. Section 4 of the form contains places for 2 digital signatures and dates, to be signed by both AMIS and the AMIS Service Desk, signifying completion of the review for the requested access, change or deletion. If any issues or questions arise with the request, the originating entity will be contacted to help resolve the issue, and the form will be corrected before signing. Once approved and signed, the account will either be deleted, modified, or created and the user will be contacted. At the bottom of the form, there are line-by-line definitions to aid the form user in understanding what is being asked for in data input. There are also narratives to inform the user what section they need to fill out, typical routing paths, contact information, and policies on form retention and dormant account policies. It is important to note that in addition to initial user account setup, user account modification, and user account deletion, user accounts can also be deactivated and then reactivated at a later time. To deactivate or reactivate a user account, contact the AMIS Service Desk, or ASD. ASD is also the source for answering questions on filling out the DD Form 2875, getting the latest DD Form 2875, or for answering general questions about TC-AIMS 2. ASD can be reached using the following contact information.